42's in the shop. We're getting it ready to cut it up. All right, the time has finally come where I start working on my 42 crazy custom project. I'm gonna leave no stone unturned on this. I want every corner and piece and angle to be a little bit modified to some extent. Obviously my idea is to be very radical 50s. I always like to restore cars to periods in time. So it's a 42 Ford and I want it to look like a late 50s, early 60s custom. A little bit of a rebellious style custom I have in mind. I've been waiting. I've been wanting to work on this for a while, but I've been waiting until I had free time to work on it. And the way that this year has been going for me, I don't have any free time. So I'm just gonna have to do a little bit at the end of each working day just to try to keep this thing moving, because I've been absolutely excited to get my hands dirty on this car. I don't know, I just can't stop thinking about it. Every time I'm doing something, I'm thinking about this car. So I'm just gonna add a little hour every day to do something to this car, and hopefully we can start this series. I have a rebuilt engine for this. I have a rebuilt transmission for this. I have rebuilt brakes for this. I got certain things like door and trunk seals and window seals and all sorts of stuff. So I really could, if I could get the fabrication on this to a point where it's safe, it's a safe car again, because it's not safe right now, it's got rust. I could start driving this in a short period of time. So I want to do some customization to it and get it running, and it just be a run and driving project. Work on it for years to come. We at least able to drive it to some car shows. So I'm wasting time just talking about it. Let's start messing with it. I went to pull or see what this trim looks like here. The steel on the outside's good. The bolts on the inside's trash. I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to get the bolts out, but peel it off. All right, whew. I've had mothballs in this thing for a couple of years, so it smells god awful. I can't wait to get all that out, or at least air this thing out so I can breathe in here. I've been under the impression that the toe board is completely gone. The front panels, or the front floor pans, are rusty and nasty. The step downs, the step sides are rusted out, and I've been under that impression since I got it. I knew that. So I'm very excited to clean this interior out, get the seat out of it, and see what's actually going on with the floor pan. I plan to channel it at least 3 inches, so the entire floor is coming out one way or the other. So I'm not really that worried about rust. Hey, there's that one trim piece I thought was in here somewhere between the hood and the door. That's a good one to have. So something's been living in here. I mean, it's a mess, but everything, every part to this car is in this car. That's my biggest thing. And thank God I'm channeling it. So none of that means anything to me. It's all getting cut out anyways. Yeah, let's get this cleaned out and get a better look at it. All right, so here's what we're working with. Not nearly as bad as I thought it was gonna be, because the rear pan is like perfect. The door where the water comes down is rusted out. So it's really just the flat piece that goes this way. So that's not a big deal. This is rusted out here. That's just a flat piece, but the B-pillar is sturdy. I've scrapped cars over just being able to move this back and forth, which it's sturdy enough that that's good. So that's not moving anywhere. Our kick panels are solid enough. They're not flexing the door any, so that's good enough. Same thing with the other side. That's just a bolt-in pan, and that was really rusty. Don't care about that. So we got some rust here. Now, the most concerning or worst rust is this 90 here. And there's our step side down there. I literally just pushed it out of the way. That's how soft that was. So that was a push and that folded over. I really don't care because I'm channeling this 3 inches. So for the rust that we do have, I really don't care. Yeah, it looks rusty to some people worrying about fixing the floor. Well, I channel every car exactly the same. I get 14 gauge, I 90 it. I have the machine or the metal shop in their big brake. They put a 90 in it. And I pie cut it to get it to tip in and curve with the frame or whatever shape it needs to take. And that's the outer part where the body sits on the frame. It gets bolted to the frame. And I run that all the way down the length. Then I run 1x1 tubes all the way across it and make my own tunnel and all that kind of stuff. So that's like actually really typical. I didn't come up with that. That's not my invention. That's pretty typical hot rod channel. And I just do it exactly the same on everything. I did it that way on the Blue Martian. Channeled it 7 inches, which is pretty radical. This one, I'm gonna channel it probably 3 inches. I'm gonna do 3 inches here, 3-inch section, maybe 5-inch chop. So I wanna be real radical. But what all that means is I don't really care about the floor being rusty in these areas because the floor is gonna be like up here somewhere and we're way out of the rust area. So I'll have strength where I wanna grab the floor from, where I wanna grab the cab from. So that's not a problem. And all that will get cut out and new bracing will get put down there because, you know, I can't just cut it out and not do anything. Even though the floor is gonna be way up here, I'm still gonna need to brace it all the way across, which, you know, that panel is donezo. It would have been better if this panel was good and I could build my 90 up off of it, you know, but it's gone. So I'll just make my 90 that I make just longer to be the length of how deep it's gonna get channeled, and just call it a day. So far, I've gotten really lucky with bolt on this car. Probably should have said that. I think that we've all had enough. Keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me on the go. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Wow, I thought getting that apart was going to be a lot more difficult than it was. Got all the glass out of it. The windows are rolled down in the front. I took the regulators completely out in the back. Windshield's out. Car's in better shape than I thought it was, actually. So if you look at the important, frustrating things, the window channels are all good. Nice all the way around. I am going to use the window. It's just going to be much shorter. I mean, all the good character lines are good, in good shape. You can see right through where the window regulator was. Everything over there is in good shape, really. So all the important stuff's in good shape. The stuff I really don't care about, the floor. Then obviously the insides of the doors. Yeah, I can't see it now. You can see it right there a little bit in the camera. That's not a big deal. I'll take the door off and flip it upside down on the table and fix that. But all the glass being out, you get a good idea of what this car actually looks like. And I'm pretty happy with everything so far. Look how pretty these gauges are. Now, I don't know if this thing's got 53 miles or 53,000 miles on it or not, but the last time this was on the road was like 1965. But man, that gauge is pretty. Then the clock is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I love those colors. I think I'll get you can get new glass for these, and you can get a new bezel for these, and I'm gonna just clean the clock up and use it. Then the speedometer, I don't know. I mean, I'll try to use it. Let's see what happens. All right, so I got all my windows out. I got all the interior out. Car looks pretty good to me. Sorry if I repeat things, guys, because I am doing this at the end of the days and my work days. I'm trying to push it in. So, you know, it might be a week for me in one video. So anyways, I'm getting it prepped to brace. Every time I chop a car, I do the exact same thing here. I just get rattle can blue paint. Some people use really expensive fancy stuff to mark, but I'm pretty low-key guy. So I have everywhere that I want to cut spray painted blue. This is before I do any of my measurements. So really not much to look at other than just saying, I like to clean the surface off with a scruff pad real quick, spray paint it blue so I can get a good mark. So when I scribe this, I'll scribe it all the way down to the bare steel. So it'll be a nice shiny line of where I need to cut. I try to be really, really accurate when I cut. So I try to have good visuals here. Also, before I cut it, I paint it because I want to look at the contours and the shapes. When this is all one color for me in my brain, it's easier to see how the shape is moving together. So I can sit here on my chair and just look at it for like 5-10 minutes. That's literally what I'll do. I'll sit here and just look at my contours. And in my brain, I'll start figuring out, you know, how this turns. That's a very straight piece. That's a very straight piece. This is a good area to cut. Then since I'm going with the Carson top, I want it to be convertible-esque. So I want this straight line here to continue all the way through here. So I want to cut this in an area where the curve just starts. So when the roof goes away, I can patch it back in and this curvature of this line can continue. Then after I build that continuation, then I'll cut a flat piece into that after the fact. Big, thick steel to where I'm going to bolt my B-pillar from the top that I make. Back here, I got this paint. I'm eyeballing everything here too. So I want to cut it at the curvature right where it just starts. That's going to be the cut because I want to cut the curvature out and I want to make something that kind of matches this all the way around the car. So it's more like a Phaeton look, less like a Tudor cut off look. Now this is going to be as straight as I possibly can from the lower portion of the window. But the problem here is I'm going to tilt my trunk in as far as it can go because the trunk and kind of the hood depends how much you can actually chop the roof down. Now, if I left the trunk like this and the roof goes, the flow of the whole car goes trunk, roof. That's not going to look sexy. But if I dip the trunk in and the trunk roof goes like this, a nice arc, now that's sexy. That looks nice. So it's just how my brain's working. I got to see it all one color so I can visually see exactly where the cuts are going to go. And I'm still 50-50 on how I want to do this window. I have two options. I can cut this and leave the door frame, obviously chop it down a lot, but leave the door frame and my vent wing stock looking to a Tudor. or I can cut it out completely out here and make more of a convertible style vent window. I don't know which one I want to do yet. I'm gonna play with it because I'll have all the pieces off the car it's pretty soon, and see which version I like better. But that's where I'm at today. For any of those expert welders out there, I don't have electricity in my shop yet, so you guys might be hearing the welder. I don't know how it comes through in the video, but it might be sounding like I need to turn the voltage up, which I need to, but I got a 10 gauge extension cord from my other shop running the welder now until this shop actually gets power. The lights are running off an extension cord too, so I got a couple big gauge extension cords running this whole building right now. So if you're listening to the welder, you're like, ugh, turn it up, man. That's why the extension cord's screwing me right now. All right, I'm just about done with the bracing. Really, I'm just running out of time for today, but I'm pretty close. I got two that touch the top up here. I got the top in the back and forth, top here in the middle, bottom here in the middle, and I have my sideways one here, so it can't move back and forth this way. I have my B-pillars connected to the floor, so they can't move this way. I guess you could worry that my cowl could tip back, but I mean, this whole dash here, this counts for structure too, and that's pretty solid. So I'm not so worried about it falling back and forth. While the top's off, I'm going to keep the fenders bolted up. And the fenders are bolted to, the frame. The inner fender is bolted to the frame. We got the crossbar. So I'm really confident that there's enough structure in the cowl area. It's not going anywhere. When I have a little bit more time, I'm probably gonna just do bracing like this. Just this triangle here, just cut it to fit. I like all my bracing to fit up really good. I mean, you can see how everything fits up really good all over the place. So there's no like cheap, quick bracing. I mean, I put my time, and really good welds into it. That's a good weld. I was having issues with my welder back here. So I was just doing test, and my extension cord was hot, so I stopped, let it cool down, and it went back to welding good. So some of you guys could probably know how I feel about, you know, not having electrical in here yet. But hey, you know, I think this is about ready to cut out. I'm pretty happy with this. This isn't gonna move in and out, you know, because I'm not cutting the floor out yet. So this bracing right now is for cutting the roof off and getting that structure good. Then I'll cut the floor out. The only thing that I made sure was the gap I have here between the floor and my bracing. That's how much I'm channeling it. So when I do go to channel it, I don't have to cut anything out from the bottom, any of the bracing here. I'll cut the floor out and the whole cab will sit down onto my bracing because that's the exact amount that I'm channeling the whole body. So when I go to section it, that's gonna be a whole nother story. I'll have to cut all my bracing out because I'll have a brand new floor in there and I'll have to brace the floor up to the cab really good back in the other direction. So when I go to section it, that's a whole nother ball game. But for now, I think this is good enough bracing. All right, guys, we got it gutted out. We know what we're dealing with. I got my paint on here to know where I'm about to mark it. That's what I'm gonna do next. We got it braced up. I feel comfortable with cutting the roof off, even though the floor is pretty, you know, not as solid as I'd like it to be, but it's solid enough that cut the roof off. The bracing is gonna hold everything together, and I'm gonna cut the floor out of it. So it's gonna have the roof off and the floor out at the same time. So wish me luck on the next video. I can't wait. See you guys then.